Carp fishing in France, the mecca for any carp angler. Join us as we visit Lake Heritage, a 17-acre lake tucked in the Limoges region of France, a rural little village called Saint-Pardoux. This was a trip that we were very fortunate to get due to the current restrictions being lifted in the UK just before we left. Grab yourself a cup of tea and a biscuit and enjoy this session as we try to track down a few of these Lake Heritage famous carp. Well, good morning. We've just spent our first night on the bank here at Lake Heritage in Limoges. You'll probably see from the footage it's a 17-acre lake. It's got a good head of fish ranging from about 64, some 50s, a good head of 40s and 30s and 20s, and enough for you to whet your appetite for a week's fishing. Arrived yesterday morning, got set up, only put the rods out for round about 10 minutes and the first rod was away, and that was a 35-pound 8-ounce mirror. And then literally while I was unhooking that fish and sorting it out, the second rod went and it was a 35-pound on the nose grass carp, so nothing to be sniffed at. But we're here for the week. I'm on post 6. I'm with my dad, who's on post 7. Colin and Howard, they're on post 1 and 2, and it's just the 4 of us sharing this lake for the week. Strategy really seems to be find the fish, give them a bit of food, and try and secure as many bites this week as possible. But what I'll do is, as the week unfolds, I'll keep up to date with the camera and we will hopefully get some footage of some fish. The first 2 from yesterday with setting up, I've got some photographs which I'll show you now in the video, but apart from that there's very little footage because it was all fingers and thumbs trying to get the rods out and the bivvy sorted for the day at hand.
These my dads make it hurt.
It's Monday morning, it's just before lunchtime, and I've just put the rods back out in the spots. I've just had a lovely 18-pound 4 mirror you've probably seen there on the video. All the bites have been during the day, there's been nothing during the night whatsoever. It's been overcast most of the day, then the sun has been coming through at certain times. There's been skiffs of rain as well, temperature sitting early to mid 20s. Which is very good for here in July. Now, it hasn't really been running away with itself up here in terms of the fishing, but I have been steadily getting a couple each day. As you've maybe seen from the footage, the biggest has been 36-pound of a mirror, and obviously the 35-pound grass carp as well. So we're doing really well. That's a PB mirror and a PB grass carp for me. Well, I've only had one grass carp ever, and it's 35 pounds. So I'll show you the baiting approach for this session and talk through the spots that I am fishing as well. I'm putting out a good head of bait because I was told if you put out a small bit you'll pick up the odd fish, but if you really go in with a heavy baiting approach, that's when you're starting to see sort of 3-4 fish or more in a day. It hasn't paid off yet. I think the most I've had in a day is 2. I'm steadily, sort of getting 2 each day. I think I had 2 on Saturday when we arrived, I had 2 on Sunday, and today's Monday. I've had 1, so that's the 5 runs that I've had all together. It hasn't came without its drama. We've been using the bait boat to put the rigs out. Unfortunately, my dad, something's happened to the batteries on his bait boat, so we're now sharing the boat, which is completely fine, but it's annoying for him with the batteries there as well. But that's fishing for you. You can't always have everything go your way, and sometimes when it's made a bit harder, that's when the rewards are better. This morning the fish came off the right hand rod, and funny enough, I wasn't too sure about the spot that I was picking on the bait boat, so I went out on the actual boat with the little electric outboard here. I've got a bit of footage of that. Hopefully I'm able to be seen doing that. And I went over to the spot with a rod, put a couple of kilo of mixed boilie, hemp and maize, sorry, mixed boilie, hemp and maize onto the spot, and lowered the rig in. It felt a bit soft, moved it slightly further out by about a foot, and all of a sudden I had a hard spot. I felt quite confident in that spot, so I set to the boat, moved it back, put the rod up, and the other two I sent out with the bait boat with plenty of boilie and particle as well. And I had the run off, as I say, the right hand rod. I did get a run on the left hand rod, and I assume by the way it was fighting that it was a tench, but it dropped off probably about 10 meters out from the bank, but there was not really much of a fight. We have been getting quite a lot of tench, and the reason being is they've just spawned for the second time, and they've went on the food really to try and bulk up. There's not that many tench in here, but the ones that are feeding heavily. I hear as well that the lake record is 17 pound, and as I say, anything over 10, if I got as a tench, I'd be made up with. But other than that, it sort of defeats the purpose, because we're here to catch the carp, and hopefully that's what's going to happen. But I'll sign off for now, and catch you in a bit. Well, I just thought while things were quiet, I'd come and talk to you a bit about bait. On this session, it's been a mix of boilie and particle. Now, what I have been doing is mixing two boilies. One being the Arctic crab from RG Baits. I've brought those in 15mm, and I've also brought the other boilie Vitalac in 12mm. And I have been crumbing some of the Arctic crab, halving them, putting them in whole, and then with the 12mm Vitalac putting them in whole. I've then been taking either of the liquid foods, the formula and Arctic crab, and then what I've been doing is pouring a generous helping of that over the boilies, then adding some water and mixing them around and letting the boilies soak in the liquid attractant. I've been leaving that for a couple of hours, and then what I've been doing is grabbing my particle, so my hemp, my maize, and I've been putting that in. And as of yesterday, just to add a bit of extra mix, well, when I say yesterday, as of last night, to add something else to the mix, I've been putting in some 10mm halibut pellet as well, and the results have been good. The fishing hasn't run away. The fishing hasn't ran away with itself. I've had up to about 2 fish a day. I'm on 5 now, and this is Monday. And as I've said before, the biggest being that 36 mirror. I am putting in plenty of bait. If it starts to slow down, as it has today, with only the one run, I'll be less likely to put as much bait in. As you can see there's a lot of 12mm boilie and halibut pellet and corn. I've still some hemp and the Arctic crab to add to this. I thought while I was here I'd just run you through some of the kit. I'm using the 3 1/4 pound test curve 12-foot element rods from ProLogic. These are just sort of a mid-range rod, and to be honest, I was using a different set of rods before, a high-end set of rods. These this week have just blown me out of the water for the quality that you're getting for a cheaper rod. They're absolutely fantastic. They have a really nice battle curve when you're playing the fish, and those in the 3 1/4 test curve just they're giving you that bit of extra power because I'm snag fishing, but in the same sense they're nice and tippy that when you're playing a fish, it's very unlikely you're going to bump one off. That's paired up with the T-Rex 7000 TR 7000 reels from Akuma with 18 pound density line on, which is a mono, but it's a very good sinking mono, and I'm obviously snag fishing here with 3 rods. The clutches are locked up tight and the line has sunk well, and it hasn't missed a beat in terms of playing those fish. Moving on to the pod, that is the ProLogic K3 pod with the back lockdowns, which when you put them in, they pull backwards but they can't pull forwards. Okay, so that's locking the butt down securely. Matched with a pod again is the K3 alarms and the K3 bobbins, so it's all a full carbon setup. Lovely little lightweight pod, and to be honest I think it's the cheapest carbon pod on the market. It's absolutely fantastic. It extends and you can have it big, but being more tardy, I like to have it as tight and compact as I possibly can. Obviously with safety parameters involved. I mean, the reel handles are spaced out. I'm not clashing off the rods as I'm lifting each of them out. So I've been really happy with the setup here, and what I'm doing is I'm fishing to the far bank with 3 rods, 2 to snags, 1 in tight to the bank. I've no idea what's down there, so again it's locked up. I'm not leaving more than 6 foot away from the rods at any point. And what I'm doing in the evening is I'm backing off the spots about a rod length to 10 foot, just to ensure that I've got that extra time to get out from the bivvy, because we all know when fishing mono there's quite a lot of stretch in the mono, and by the time you've got from the bivvy to the rods in a sleep fashion, that fish is going to be on the snag. So it's as much safety first as possible on this session, but so far so good with the 5 fish. I've just put the rods out, as you've probably seen there in the video, for the afternoon. I'm not expecting much because it is quite slow. It seems to be quite morning bites and early evening around dinner, after dinner. There's been nothing through the night except the 7 tench that I've had. I was here last year, I only had 2 fish in 6 nights because we left a day early. So far I've got 5 fish in 2 and a bit days, so it's looking promising for the rest of the week. It fished really well for a point yesterday, especially for the guys down the other side, for Howard and Colin. For me today, that 1 fish this morning sort of made me think there was more to come, but there's been nothing else so far. As you've probably seen from the video so far, it's been 4 mirrors and a grass carp for me, 2 grass carp for my dad. The guys have had countless grass carp and some nice mirrors and a common as well, so hopefully more fish to come, and I'll keep you posted on how the session's going. But I just thought I'd do a quick update on the kit that I'm using. Later on what I'll do is I'll show you the rigs, because I've been messing about with some new components, and I must say I'm really happy. I'm still fishing 2.5 days later the exact same hook links that I originally put out. The hooks are as sharp as anything, and all rods have had fish, some more than others, so I'll show you that later in the video. here we are folks, a 20-pound 4-ounce mirror for the cameras. Right, as said, going to look at some rigs that I'm using. I've been using the same rig whether I've been fishing a pop-up or a wafter, just a slight variance in what I've been doing. And I have 2 packets of hooks. Hopefully you can see those there. This is the swivel hook by ProLogic, and this one is the curve shank, and this one is the long shank. So CS for the curve shank and LS for the long shank. The long shank ones I've been using, oh, just got a beep, left hand rod. The long shank ones I've been using on the wafter rig, and the curve shank I've been using on a Ronnie rig. I've been cutting the ring off the swivel at the bottom just to make it sit lower to the deck. But when I've been fishing a wafter, I've just left it on, just out of laziness, to be honest. But this is what I've been getting most of the bites on, and to be honest, I haven't needed to change hooks yet. They really are super sharp. Even after a couple of fish, they're still burying the hook in. So I'm going to take one of the curve shank hooks out of the packet. Let's say that's it there. The crimping toes, I'm going to cut off the ring. They come automatically with some shrink tube as well, so I'm going to cut off a small piece of that and thread it over the point of the hook. Personally, I just like a little small bit, and that's just to protect the fish's mouth. That's all that's there for. I'm going to shrink that down with a lighter shortly. But for my boom section, I'm using 33-pound chod, Pro Chod mono, and that's 0.53. Just going to peel a bit of that off. Cut up with scissors, and personally I am using 0.6 crimps to go with that, and I'm snag fishing and I haven't had a single problem, and I actually prefer this material to some of the other materials that I have used as a boom section on these spinner, swivel, Ronnie rigs, whatever you want to call them. So what I've done is I've crimped that on. I'm going to grab myself an anti-tangle sleeve. These are the 3cm ones. Feed that on. Going to cut it roughly the length that I want at a 45-degree angle so that the crimp will go through. Grab your other crimp, put it through at the length that you want. Grab crimp tool, make sure that it's nice and straight. Crimp it down, that's absolutely perfect. Pull your tail rubber up into place. What I tend to do once I've done that is get 2 rig puller tools, one through the loop and the other one at the hook, and it's doing 2 things. It's testing the strength of your crimps, and it's also pulling the fluorocarbon straight. You won't pull too much that you open the hook, but you want to pull enough that it stretches the fluoro, and it actually means that you don't need to steam that, it's quite straight. What I'll do before I do anything else is hold it by the hook link end so that you don't do any damage to the hook link. Grab a lighter, shrink the shrink tube. Then, dependent on what you want to do, I'm using a bait screw because I'm so lazy, and I'm sticking the bait screw over. Grab your hook bead, place it over the hook. I kind of like my bead in line with the point of the hook, but just moved back the slightest touch. And again, that is the rig. What I'm going to do is grab a bit of tungsten putty. And I know the pop-ups that I'm using are super buoyant, so I want a good bit of putty, and I just mould it about in my fingers for around about 20 seconds just to soften it up. You want to get the right amount of putty the first time, because if you test the rig in the margins and then you have to add more putty, it can be quite troublesome to get the putty to stay. Now, what I will say is, in this lake we have been troubled with a few crayfish, and to be honest, they do like tungsten, because I remember last year being here, the guys that were fishing with tungsten rig tube, they were absolutely hammered with crayfish. And that's the rig finished. Hopefully that's focused in. Good as any. If you want, what you can do is to add another bit of putty along the centre of the boom section, but I haven't found that I've needed it, and I've had fish on the rig as is. I mean, it's as simple as that. Grabbing yourself a packet of the swivel hooks, crimping on a boom section, put on a bait screw and screw your bait on. I mean, I had to tie a couple of those up when I first arrived because I had nothing to go with. I always like to get to a place to see what sort of rigs that I'm using, and I knocked a couple of those up, 3 of them up in fact, in about 10 minutes, and out, and I had 2 fish right away. So they do work, they are effective, and I must say, although these hooks are about a £5 for 5, so £1 a hook, you sort of think it sounds quite expensive, but they last a heck of a long time. I haven't had to change any in the, what do we say, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 days. This is the 4th day, and the hooks are as sharp as they come. I have a little hook sharpener here called the LCA GOM. You literally put the hook point in, move it about, and it gives a 360 sharpening of the hook rather than use a sharpening kit. For years I used sharpening kits. This is all I use now. It was advised to me by Colin, one of the guys that's here in session, and it's absolutely fantastic. But I haven't even needed to use it. The hook points are still as sharp as they come. What I will do is tonight, just to be on the safe side, I'll give them a wee, I'll give them a little spruce up with this just to sharpen the hook points, but it hasn't been needed. And I must say, every fish that I've hooked with these hooks, it's been a really deep hook hold in the bottom lip, so I'm suitably impressed. I just thought while I'm out for a stroll, I'd come and look at the facilities here on offer to the anglers at the lake, and this is just the washroom. So you come in, you open the door, you put the coat in, you've got your sink, you've got your toilet, you've got your shower area here as well, which is really lovely hot water on demand. And then a really nice touch is there's a load of British Power there, which is all part of your package when you book it here. You can just charge as much stuff as you need. And again, it's closed at the minute. Just it's open on demand. There is a little shop here where you can go in and you can get yourself some basic terminal tackle, extra bait, boilie, particle, pellet, things like that. And there's freezer space in there that you can rent to keep your bait or food, whatever you want, frozen. So absolutely brilliant. I just thought I'd give you that. Well, good morning guys. It's Wednesday morning here at Lake Heritage, and to be honest, I've went sort of, I think 48 hours without a fish, to my shame. I should have moved really yesterday, but I've come down here to Peg 15, polar opposite side of the lake. Just had Howard, one of the guys on the party, round to tell me that they've seen fish crash here like nothing before all night. It was like a firework display, bubbling and fish lumping out. So I've come down with limited kit, as you can see there, just a net, the rods, pod, unhooking mat, weigh sling, bucket, scales, and I've got the actual boat with the outboard that brought all the stuff down. And what I did is I literally just went out in the boat with the outboard, dropped the rig, a scoop or two of bait, and away I went. And actually, as I placed the right hand rod, I couldn't even tell you where the right hand rod is, truth be told. As I was going to a spot that looked like a likely spot, there was fish absolutely fizzing like mad. So I literally just lowered the rig in as stealthy, I suppose, as I could, scooped 2 scoops of mixed particle and boilie on the spot, and quietly brought the boat back to shore. So the rods have been in the water in total about 10 minutes from the first rod, about 1 minute from the very last rod that I've just fixed there. So it can't do any harm. I mean, I've sat up there for a long time without a fish, so hopefully something is going to show down here. Really stupid, because as I walked down past the wall yesterday looking for fish, I seen a decent common lump out, and I did nothing about it. I thought I'd just go back up, rest my swim. Nothing's happened, and in hindsight, what has actually happened? The temperature is not as warm as I thought that it was going to be. It did get to about 22 degrees yesterday, but in the nights it's really dropping off, and I think it's dropping off that much that the fish are not visiting the shallows up there. And if truth be told, if I get a fish or two down here this morning, this afternoon, I will go back up for my dad and see if he wants to come down and share the swim down here with me. But it's a likely looking spot. The peg's a nice peg, and if worse comes to worse, we'll put 4 to 6 rods out left and right of this peg tonight and try to make this our new home for the next couple of days. But we'll wait and see what happens. It could materialise into nothing, it could heat up and the fish could move back up into the bay. I have no idea, but at least for the video here, you're seeing a different peg and hopefully a bit of a different style of fishing. I haven't put much bait in, it's more an opportunist one to see are the fish going to feed where I've put rigs. To be honest, I am feeling quite hopeful, so let's just wait and see what the morning brings. But if something does materialise, I will hopefully get some footage of it on video. Well, the move's paid off with this little £15 common. I lost another one, far bigger, seconds later. Happy days. Well, as I said to you this morning, we'd moved at first light. I came down with very limited kit, with the pod in the boat, 3 rods and a few bits and pieces. Used the boat to put the rods out. Within the space of a couple of minutes, had a double take. Landed the first one, was a £15 common. Lost the second fish, a far better fish. By this stage my dad had walked down, and I then took the boat back up and left him with the rods. By the time I'd got back down, he had landed a 21 pound 2 ounce common.
Just want to hold on something.
You know, try and get him a bit higher.
Right, hold on. Alright.
My foot's soaked.
Okay.
No.
Okay, son.
And then, literally, just as I took one foot out of the boat, the other rod went, and it was a 31 pound 2 ounce common. So made up with that there. 4 runs, 3 fish in the space of an hour of moving. So really worth the move for that one. So chuffed to bits. Once the window of opportunity sort of passes in the next hour or so, I'm going to get back in the boat, head back up and start bringing some kit down here. It makes good sense as well, because where we are is only really accessible by boat, and when we're leaving on Saturday morning, although that is still a few days away, it's only Wednesday, when we're leaving on Saturday morning, it means if we're in this peg, it's a quick pack up and away. The annoying thing is, because we were up there, I didn't pack a bivvy thinking I wouldn't need one, and unfortunately the pegs up there are the only pegs you can use the bivvies provided, so we'll have to slum it on the bed chairs outside if it doesn't rain, or if we can sort of nab a spare bivvy from the lake, that would also be helpful. But we'll wait and see. It's still early doors. Interesting that the 4 fish, although we've only landed 3, I've seen the other fish have all been commons. Up the top we were getting mirror and grass carp, so it's all to play for now, and hopefully over the coming days there'll be a few more fish to the bank. I've said already, we've moved spots down to peg 15, so I'm just heading back up to pack up some of my stuff and put it in the boat and take it back down. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, the height of the sunshine, so it's sort of dead time for fishing really. So I've reeled in, and I'm going to spend a bit of time getting the stuff back out. Well, good morning. The last time you joined me, we were down here just basically for the day, and post 15 we decided to make a permanent move. Although we've no bivvies with us, we have just had a night under the stars, just sleeping on the bed chairs, which was absolutely fine, no issues. You're quite close to a road here that's not very busy, and also there's a road up to the back, and literally as cars were coming down, the full beams of the headlights were catching me while I was trying to sleep. But generally, once I got a sleeping bag over my head, it wasn't a problem. I did get a bit of a strange occurrence during the night, a bit of a run, and then a massive drop back. By the time I got to the rod, there was nothing there. Put the rod back out into position, and felt like somebody was watching me from behind, and turned around, and all I could see was the creepiness of the graveyard and the the graveyard and the crypts, which is just literally beside us, this side of the road. So that freaked me out a bit last night as well, but generally it wasn't too bad. Me and Dad have both doubled up on the peg here. Yesterday we had 3 commons. This morning it's been very quiet, though about 10:30, about an hour ago, I had a 27-12 grass carp, and hopefully there's a bit of the footage of it being held. Literally it was a quick couple of snaps and back into the water, because as you know, those things go absolutely mental on the mat, and then when you put them back into the water, they can be a bit difficult to get them recovered. That being said, this one swam off relatively quite quickly, because it wasn't out of the water too long. So that's the plan for today. I think really, being Thursday and being synonymous with France, especially being Big Fish Thursday as they call it, I'm going to give it the big one tonight with a lot of food. With us moving peg, we've only been kind of putting bits of bait in here and there for a bite. To be honest, we're competing against guys who have been baiting the spot all week, and they've been doing excessively well. So what I'm going to do is really give it the big one tonight. Plenty of bait, sort of the size of a tennis court, over 2 of the rods anyway, and then the right hand rod I'm going to have just off the baited spot, back a bit, and again we'll see if that works. With using the bait boat, sometimes I think just huge drops of bait is not ideal. The only downside is today's going to be the hottest day. We've had it practically mid-20s all week, which has been great. Yesterday it went up to 29. Today I hear it's to be about 35. Now it doesn't look it at the minute because we're sort of shaded by the trees above. Once it gets to around about 2 p.m, this peg becomes an absolute furnace. So that is really the plan for this afternoon. I'm going to nip to the shop and get some fuel, because obviously Saturday morning is when we're going, which only really leaves tomorrow, and I want to get the car filled up with diesel before, so that tomorrow I can park it behind the peg and get it semi sort of tidy, ready for the kit to go into it on Saturday morning. The bonus is the fact that we've moved pegs down to here. We don't have to use the boat and the outboard to cart all the kit down about 5 in the morning, which optimises bite time down here for a bit longer before we have to actually say our goodbyes to the lake. It's been a fantastic week so far. We've still 2 more nights, so I'm not complaining. It's really been good. I think roughly I've had about 8 fish, 4 of those being 30 plus. Been unlucky with the sizes of a few of the others, but see, to be honest, to get away from home and to get a bend in the rod has been fantastic. I can't complain, so I'm looking forward to seeing the next couple of days bring hopefully a few more fish for my dad as well. But let's just see what happens over the coming day. As you can see, we had a night under the stars last night. There's the bed, and to be fair, a short trip to the pod, so you can't be bad to that. Well folks, here we are, the final full day of the trip. It's Friday, it's about 11 o'clock. I've left it just past bite time down in the peg that I was in, and I've decided to venture back up to peg 6, the side of the lake I started on last Saturday morning. The thought process really here is a lot of bait has went in over the course of 4 days in this spot, and I have had a couple of fish, but with it going absolutely dead down the other side of the lake, I've literally thought that now would be the ideal time to come back up and put a few rigs into the water and see what happens. I'm literally gonna send the outboard over to the far side, drop the rig in a likely looking spot, put 1 scoop of mixed particle and boilie, and hope for the best. And that's really what we're doing this morning. Apparently there has been a few fish sighted up here as well. Just as I started to make my way up, the lake owner and the bailiff, they're down doing a bit of maintenance for the guys coming next week. I must say we've been really well looked after this week. The food package has been outstanding, delivered safely to the swim, and really accommodating. You know, they couldn't have done enough for us. It couldn't have been safer during this whole COVID time. I mean, I've completely forgot there's been a pandemic. It's been that nice over here. Well, it's Friday. It's about 11:45 in the afternoon, and as I said, coming down in the boat, I'm now up where it all started on this trip, peg 6. I had literally nothing in exactly 24 hours, and once that 24-hour window closed, I decided to come up here, literally on tether in the boat to get the stuff off before putting the first rod out. I see 2 fish lump out, not on the spots, sort of mid-water. So I've put 2 rods back on the spots. I've had rods on all Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, so for 4 days, the spots that produced, I've got 2 rods on those spots now. The third one, it would have been stupid not to put it over where those fish roughly were lumping out. There are fish in the area. 2 things can either happen here. Either we're on the fish and we'll see something, or the added pressure up here might push some fish back down into the main body of the lake. Really, it's last chance saloon and there's not much to lose. I've only got today and through tonight into about 7, 8 in the morning, because we have to be off by 9 AM, and I think the plan is really, once I get down there tonight, is to start to get the kit packed up. But there's still time for a fish or 2, so hopefully something happens. I've had so far this week 8 fish, 4 over 30, 3 over 35, the biggest so far being a 36-pound mirror. So I'm more than happy with what's happened so far, but there's always the old greed factor sinks in and the want for something else. So let's hope something else comes, but if not, it's been an absolutely great session, and really the lake is a testament to what the guys have done here. We've all had a fantastic week. The fish have been really pristine, fought really hard, and I sort of feel sorry for anybody through all this COVID-19 stuff that have missed their trip this year, because it really, after everything that has happened, has just been what I needed. To be here and to be out of all of the hustle and bustle of the UK and the whole COVID-19 thing, it just feels like business as usual, because you're just fishing and you're back to a state of normality, and it's been really nice just to have a bit of normality, and quite comfortable as well. So I'm hoping something else kicks off. If not, it's been good. Well folks, I just thought I'd come and do a bit for the camera. The rods have been out about half an hour, and I've just had this nice little mirror. Whether it's the last fish of the trip, I don't know. It's nice to get something else just on the bank before going. Well, as you've probably seen from the video there, I had a small little mirror. I slipped that back, I put the rod back into position, and then I noticed to my left hand side there's been fish coming out. So I've literally quickly reeled in the left hand rod. I've went out on the boat and I've dropped the rig with a scoop of mixed particle and pellet over the spot. Now, lo and behold, since doing that with the disturbance, it has stopped the fish crashing out. And again, I'm not overly that worried because we're fishing down the polar opposite end of the lake tonight, and the more movement that I cause up here and the lines in the water may help to push the fish further back down to where we are for tonight. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But as I said earlier, it's been an absolutely fantastic week. The food has been quality. Breakfast and dinner delivered to the peg by the bailiff Sean, who runs a restaurant here, or a bistro Limoges. And it's been very tricky for them because obviously in France the bistros and the restaurants and the bars are able to open, but they have limited space. So to save any hassle and to save up space for the locals, we have had our dinners delivered every night to the bank, as well as our breakfast. Breakfast is a given because you're getting that around 10 o'clock, which is still within bite time here at Heritage. Every fish we have had has been during the day. Once it gets to sort of 9, 10, 11 at night, it seems to switch off. Have the rods out overnight. In hindsight, maybe what I would have did was took the lines out of the water at night if we realised it wasn't really fishing through the night, to give the fish a bit of confidence to come in and feed on the spots without lines and go at first light. One thing I have noticed is I've 9 fish so far, still time for another if chances happen, but out of those fish I think 4 have been stalking style opportunities where I've seen showing fish or I've moved to fish. Certainly one today, 2 or 3 of them on Wednesday when I moved as well. So it has been slow enough in terms of what this lake can do for us personally. I know Colin and Howard, they have done better. They're fishing a channel over there on peg 1 and 2 halfway across the lake. I know some Belgian guys were here the week before and they were fishing the exact same spot, and lo and behold there's been very little sort of movement there for 3 or 4 days before we arrived, and a lot of bait put in before then. So they've really worked it out, worked hard, and had lots of opportunities. It just hasn't materialized as much for me, but I have moved, I have been on fish, I have had a couple of personal bests, so I can't complain. I really have had a fantastic week here. You always run the risk when you come in July and August that the weather is going to get very, very hot, which it has, into the 30s, which really does kill any chances of the fishing at times. You know, can really switch it off. That being said, it has been a very, very good week. We have done well, I think, for what we've made of the trip, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting back possibly next year if weather and climate and everything that's going on at the minute allows for. But I'm going to give it, it's about 3 o'clock now I think. I'm going to give it to about dinner time here, about 6. I'm going to go back, rest my swim, because I know my dad has a couple of rods up where I was fishing, because we're sharing a swim. It is a single, we've made it into a double, but he's fishing my spots because they are good spots, and hopefully tonight brings us something before we go home. If not, I don't really care. I've had a really good time, but that's really what we're doing now anyway. It's just playing the waiting game to see what happens. It's been a really tremendous trip. I just hope that the travelling back through Paris in the afternoon won't be too busy, but hopefully before we go there'll be another fish, maybe more, for the video, but we'll wait and see. Basically the first couple of days the weather was prime for it, and the last sort of 3 days it's been very hot, which has really put the fishing off for everybody. The guys down there, they've done incredibly well. They have had an extreme amount of grass carp as well. to the point where they're now just unhooking them in the net and sending them on their way. They can be quite delicate in terms of the recovery, the grassies, which is strange. You don't get much of a fight bringing them in at times. They see the net, they go berserk, and you could be playing them for 15-20 minutes trying to get them actually into the net. Once you get them onto the bank, they're a disaster when you're trying to handle them, and then when you put them back, they've used all their energy, and you end up having to hold them for 15-20 minutes trying to recover them. But that being said, they're a tremendous looking fish when you get them out for a photograph, and it's been a real pleasure to get amongst a few of the fish down here. Well, it's getting to my time towards the end up in this peg. I've only about an hour or so to go before I'm going down for my tea. But just as I'd seen a few fish, I repositioned the rod and it rattled off with this lovely 20 pounds 2 ounce mirror. If it's the last fish of the session, so be it, but it's just great to have another fish. That's 10 altogether now, with several 30s as well, so really made up with this session. Going to get the fish back and get the rod back out for the last hour.